Hello and welcome to a very special video as I'm going to be talking about what has to be my favorite writing software. Long-time subscribers to my channel are aware that I've had some frustrations with previous writing software and eventually opted to use something simple and handy such as Google Docs with a few plugins to add some key features. However, Google Docs has always been limited when it comes to the grammar and spelling checkers, not to mention the trim sizes, which is key if you plan to publish your book to print. So what I needed was professional writing software, but I didn't want to go back to using something like Scrivener, which had to have one of the most unfriendly user interfaces I've ever worked with. To a point that early in my career I created a course explaining to people how to use Scrivener, but that in itself still didn't save me from eventually abandoning the software and using something that was a lot easier. It's a handy feature having your books saved to a cloud, so that way if anything happens to your hardware, your computer, your laptop, that it doesn't delete that file. If you spent months writing a novel, that can be a key problem. So I needed software that had that feature. And while Google Docs had that feature, it did lack in other departments. With that said, now let me talk about Atticus itself. Atticus isn't free software, but it's certainly quality software. When it comes to the features it includes, it gives you many of the popular trim sizes which are available on all platforms, not just Amazon, as well as complete freedom in customizing these formats. I've been able to create my own formats for different genres of my writing. For example, if I was writing something that was a simpler book and required a larger font, I could make that adjustment, not just with the trim size, but with the font, the headings, everything. Atticus comes with a handy previewer that you can open up on the side, which gives you a good look at what your book will look like in print. So right away, this gave me some key features for my publishing. One of the first things I did then was re-import all of my books and adjust the trim sizes, so that way the print versions matched exactly what I wanted to see. In short, it did something that many advanced writing softwares out there try to do, but a lot better and a lot easier. I like to have approachable software. I like the user interface to be something that isn't overwhelming or bogged down with unnecessary details. And this is exactly what Atticus provides. That's not to say you don't have access to these advanced settings. As I said earlier, I was able to create my own formats for different genres, and it quickly adjusts your entire novel by simply selecting that format. Other key features I like is you're able to set a goal for your writing. So in other words, for each individual novel, you can set the number of days that you want to work on it. You can set how many words that you want to reach, and it tells you exactly how many words you have to do in that day to stay on schedule. You can also include full page images or even custom breaks if you like to include a special symbol to separate your scenes. And to save time, you can also then export your book in your docx format, in an EPUB format, or in a PDF. So these are all the formats that you could ever need when uploading your book to the internet. This works well with both print publishing and ebooks. So while I can say with some measure of confidence that Atticus is one of the best, if not the best writing software that I've ever used, but it isn't perfect either. There are some features that I would have liked included in this software, and I felt that other authors might have found those features useful as well. So I wrote an email to the support team at Atticus suggesting these ideas, and sure enough, they actually sent me an email back saying that they are grateful for the feedback. And while that did help me with some simple matters, one of the key takeaways I had from that rather prompt reply is that there is an active team behind Atticus, one which is communicating with its customers. I also want to talk about some features they do plan to add in the future. As once more, I wanted to suggest a few ideas, but then came across on their website a roadmap. And a roadmap is simply a document stating what they've worked on and what they plan to add in the future, as well as what they're currently working on. And sure enough, I saw some of my suggestions already there, so it was already fantastic to see. One of those features that I saw there is something that I feel a lot of other writers out there might enjoy, It's a collaboration feature where other authors using the same software can work together on the same project. At least that's what I imagine it is. So would I recommend Atticus to other authors out there? Absolutely. Although I'm not affiliated with the software, I usually feel that most people should stick with the software that works best for them. So I would never really talk about software such as this unless I truly felt that it could be useful to other authors out there. It is a paid-for software, and that might already turn a lot of people off when it comes to writing, as it's something that is so simple, so why not just use any free software out there? And that's certainly how I feel most of the time. But when it came to Atticus, it had all the key features that I really needed, as well as some important updates along the way that really helped me create novels exactly as I wanted them to be. And trying to get your book to look exactly as you want it to, especially in print, is incredibly important. At least it is to me. And there's a high chance of it not looking that way when using inferior software. So if me talking about it wasn't enough to convince you, I will leave a link to their website so you can see the team behind it and what they're working on and what they're all about. But this is simply my recommendation from one author to another, and I do hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed, be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. And it's back to the regular writing program next week. With that said, good day, good night, and happy writing.